I never thought I'd torch a wedding, literally, with gasoline and a match from the glove box of my old Ford pickup, but there I was, hidden in the treeline, watching the flames lick up the rented silk drapes like they were devouring every last shred of my stolen life. My sister, the bride, screamed my name into the night, her veil catching fire like a fallen angel's wings. But it wasn't rage in her eyes, it was fear. The kind that comes when you realize the monster you created is finally turning the knife back on you. And as the sprinklers kicked on, soaking the chaos in a biblical downpour, I whispered to myself, "This is what betrayal tastes like. Emily, ashes and regret." It started 6 months earlier, in the sticky heat of a Memphis summer. The kind where the air hangs heavy with the scent of barbecue smoke and unspoken grudges.
I'm Catherine Reyes,
32. A freelance graphic designer scraping by in a one-bedroom apartment off Poplar Avenue. The walls papered with unpaid bills and sketches of fonts I'll never sell. My life wasn't glamorous. Divorced at 28 after my ex ran off with our savings for a fresh start in Vegas, but it was mine. Until Emily, my baby sister by 5 years, decided she needed a glow-up funded by my blood,
sweat,
and tears. Emily was always the golden child, the one mom and dad doted on while I played the responsible big sis, covering her messes since we were kids. Remember that time in high school when she borrowed my car for a joyride and totaled it into a ditch off Highway 40? I took the blame. Told the cops it was me racing some idiot from Germantown, because Mom was already popping Xanax like Tic Tacs after Dad's heart attack. Emily got a slap on the wrist and a new iPhone for her 16th birthday. That's us, me. The fixer, her. The flamethrower who dances away unscathed. But this was next level. Emily was marrying Jay Carlin, some slick real estate broker from Nashville with a smile like a used car salesman and a family trust fund that screamed old Southern money. Their wedding was set for October at the Harlan Estate, a sprawling antebellum knockoff on the outskirts of Franklin, Tennessee. White columns, manicured lawns, the works. Emily had been planning it for a year, Instagram perfect down to the monogrammed cocktail napkins. And me? I was supposed to be the maid of honor, beaming in seafoam green while she said, "I do." What she didn't count on was me finding the emails. It was a fluke. Really. I'd been crashing at her place in East Nashville for a week while my AC unit crapped out. Her guest room was a fold-out couch in a loft that smelled like patchouli and regret. One morning, nursing a hangover from dollar drafts at the Rudyard Kipling, I borrowed her laptop to check my freelance gigs. Password was still Menjake forever, because of course it was. Buried in her sent folder was a chain to her wedding planner, a harried woman named Trish from some boutique firm in Belmead. "Need to liquidate assets fast," Emily wrote. Sisters got vintage jewelry collection, worth at least $15K retail. She's clueless about values. Ship it discreetly to your contact for appraisal/sale. Tell her it's for safekeeping during the wedding chaos. My stomach dropped like I'd chugged bad moonshine. The jewelry? That was Grandma Hayes' heirlooms. The pearl necklace from her debutante ball in '52. The emerald ring Dad gave Mom before he shipped out to Nam. A sapphire brooch that had been pawned and repawned through 3 generations of bad luck. I'd inherited it all when Mom passed from ovarian cancer 2 years back. The only thing of value in her estate besides a stack of medical bills. I'd stashed it in a safety deposit box at First Horizon, key around my neck like a talisman against the world's sharp edges. Clueless? She'd sweet-talked me into handing it over 3 weeks ago, during a girls' night at her place. "Kathy, please," she'd cooed, batting those lashes that always got her out of juvie threats back in the day. "Jake's family is all about traditions. I want something borrowed from you, Your pieces would look killer with the bridesmaids' necklines. Just for the ceremony.
I swear.
Trish will hold it safe.
¿Y de cava?
Like always. Because that's what big sisters do. We mend the tears so the little ones can keep dancing. But this wasn't borrowing. This was theft. Plain and simple. Wrapped in tulle and lies. 15 grand to fund the open bar and the string quartet? To buy those crystal flutes imported from goddamn Italy? I slammed the laptop shut, my hands shaking so bad I nearly chipped a tooth on my coffee mug. Emily was in the shower, humming some Taylor Swift tune about love stories that never end well. I wanted to burst in, drag her out by that wet blonde hair, and make her choke on the truth. But no, rage like that needs a slow burn, especially when the betrayer's your own blood. I played it cool for the next few days, nodding along as she gushed about centerpieces and vows. Jake surprised me with a fireworks finale, can you believe it? Southern Gothic romance. Baby.
Hit it, Mila.
Sip my sweet tea. And mentally catalog every lie. By Friday, I'd driven to the bank, confirmed the box was empty. Trish's appraisal crew had signed out with forged docs bearing my initials.
Forged.
My own sister, dipping into felony territory like it was a Black Friday sale. That's when the planning started. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a marathon through the kazoo-choked backroads of Tennessee, where secrets fester like humidity on asphalt. I needed to hit her where it hurt, the wedding. That fairy tale facade she'd built on my ruins. But I couldn't just confront her. Emily was a chameleon, flipping scripts faster than a Nashville songwriter. 1 minute, contrite tears, the next, gaslighting you into thinking you imagine the knife in your back.
No.
This had to be surgical. Controversial enough to split opinions down the Mason-Dixon. Was I the villain for sabotaging a wedding? Or was she for stealing from the dead to buy her happily ever after? First move, intel. I friend Trish on Facebook under a fake profile, Lila Beaumont, a floral designer from Chattanooga, with stock photos of azaleas and a bio quoting Dolly Parton. Took 2 days of small talk about peonies versus hydrangeas before she spilled the vendor list in a DM. Caterer from Atlanta, DJ from Knoxville, even a drone photographer for aerial shots. The fireworks? Some pyrotechnics outfit out of Murfreesboro. $8,000 alone. Emily's cut from my jewels covered the little luxuries, as she called them. I started small. Anonymous sabotage. A tip to the health department about unpermitted shellfish at the caterer's last gig. Nothing major. Just enough to hike their insurance and delay delivery by a week. Then, a Yelp review from a burner account claiming the DJ ghosted a bat mitzvah in Chattanooga, complete with fake timestamps. He called Emily in a panic, and I overheard her on the phone from my spot on her couch. Babe, it's fine. Kath's got a cousin who spins records. We'll pivot.
Pivot.
Like my life was a goddamn Pinterest board. But the real gut punch came when I dug deeper into Jake. Turns out, Mr. Perfect wasn't so pristine. A quick reverse image search on his headshots led to a Reddit thread in r/Nashville. X here, Jake Harlan ghosted me after I loaned him $20K for business startup. Now he's engaged? Ladies, run. Comments piled up, another girl claiming he borrowed her car for a month. Never refilled the gas.
Sounded familiar.
I screenshotted it all, printed hard copies, and slipped them under Emily's door at 2 a.m. Anonymous as a ghost in the machine. She confronted me the next morning over avocado toast. Eyes red-rimmed like she'd pulled an all-nighter on Zoloft. Kathy.
Did you
See something about Jake? Her voice was that perfect mix of vulnerable and accusatory, the one that always made me backpedal. I feigned shock, spilling orange juice on my shirt for effect.
What? No. Eminencia.
Why?
Inside.
I was screaming. You stole from me. You hypocrite. How's it feel to taste your own medicine? She bought it. Or, at least pretended to. Just. Old drama.
He's solid now.
With me.
Solid.
Like the ground under a house of cards. As the wedding loomed, the tension coiled tighter than a banjo string at a bluegrass hoedown. Mom's ghost hovered in every decision. Would she have wanted this? The woman who chain-smoked Marlboros and quoted Maya Angelou between chemo rounds, preaching forgiveness like it was gospel. But forgiveness is a luxury for folks who haven't had their bones picked clean. Mine were stripped bare, and Emily was gnawing on the marrow. I escalated. Hired a PI buddy from my divorce days, $500 I didn't have, charged to a credit card already maxed, to tail Jake. Turns out, he was still borrowing. Late-night meetings with a brunette barista from East Nashville, handing over cash that looked suspiciously like my jewelry payout. Photos hit my inbox. Jake in a motel off I-65. Her laughing at his jokes. I forwarded them to Emily from an anonymous email. Subject line: borrowed time. Her response? Radio silence for a week. Then a frantic call at midnight. Kathy, it's a lie. He's framing me or something. Please, don't tell anyone. The wedding's in 2 weeks. Framing you? The irony burned hotter than moonshine in a mason jar. I agreed. Of course. Played the loyal sis. Helped her pick out veil extensions at a bridal shop in Green Hills. All the while, my plan crystallized. Not just expose them, but unravel the whole damn tapestry. The Harlans were old money, but old money fears scandal like the devil fears holy water. I'd leak the affair to the society pages of the Tennessean, anonymous source. Of course. Stir the pot with whispers to the vendors about budget cuts from the bride's shady side hustle. And for the finale? That fireworks display. Pyrotechnics are finicky, one wrong wire. And it's not celebration, it's catastrophe. But here's where it gets gray. The part that'd make water cooler debates erupt from Knoxville to Chattanooga. Was I justified? 15 grand isn't chump change, it's rent for a year. Therapy for a decade. A down payment on dignity. Emily didn't just steal jewels, she erased our shared history. Pawned grandma's grit for glitter.
Yet.
As I wired the sabotage into the fireworks rig, accessed via a bribed crew guy nursing a grudge over unpaid overtime, I felt the first crack in my armor. What if Jake was innocent? What if Emily's desperation stemmed from something deeper? Like the eating disorder she'd hidden since college. Or the Harlan family's prenup that'd leave her penniless if she bailed. Doubt crept in like fog off the Cumberland. Late nights. I drive aimless loops around Percy Warner Park, radio blasting Johnny Cash's Hurt, questioning if revenge was just grief in a Stetson. Mom would have said, let it go. Kathy girl. Poison's for the drinker, not the drunk. But Mom was gone. And so was my trust. Emily had flipped the script one too many times, from shoplifter to sorority queen, addict to almost Mrs. Harlan. This time, I'd write the ending. The rehearsal dinner was a powder keg, held at a steakhouse in Franklin. All leather booths and whiskey neat. The Harlans toasting to family legacies while Emily shot me glances like daggers wrapped in doilies. Jake cornered me by the bar. Bourbon breath hot on my neck. Heard you're the rock here. Catherine. Emily's lucky. His hand lingered on my arm. That salesman squeeze. I smiled, clinked glasses, and slipped a USB drive into his pocket. The PI photos, labeled for your eyes only. He found it later,
Immagine.
during the drive back to their Airbnb. By morning, the text started. Emily. Hysterical. What did you do, Jake? Radio silent. I deleted the chains, poured coffee black as my soul, and drove west toward the estate. The wedding was tomorrow. My truck's glove box held the gas can, bought at a Lowe's in anonymity. Matches from a Waffle House ashtray. And in my purse, the one loose pearl from Grandma's necklace, the last piece I hadn't let her touch. As I parked in the shadows of the pecan grove bordering the property, the sun dipped low, painting the sky bruise purple. Guests milled like fireflies in Chanel, the tent glowing with promise. Emily emerged in her gown, a meringue monstrosity that screamed, I deserve this. Jake stood rigid beside her, tie askew, eyes scanning the crowd like a man expecting ghosts. I waited for the vows, the I do's that'd seal their fraud. But as the officiant droned on about eternal bonds, my phone buzzed, a text from Trish. Jewelry sold. Buyer in Atlanta wants more. Emily says it's family approved. Family approved. That was the match. I slipped through the trilene, heart pounding like bass at a trap show. The tent's rear flap was unsecured, sloppy. For $200,000 perfection. Inside, the fireworks crate loomed, a Pandora's box of black powder and betrayal. One snip to the timing wire, and it'd cascade early, spectacularly wrong. But as I crouched there, shears in hand, Emily's laughter floated over, genuine. For once, mingled with Jake's forced chuckle. Hesitation hit like a freight train. This wasn't just revenge, it was erasure. Of her joy, sure, but also of the sister who'd braided my hair during Dad's funeral, who'd crashed on my couch after her last breakup. The gray area widened. Was I saving her from a snake like Jake? Or punishing her for sins that mirrored my own, clinging to grudges like life rafts? Screw it. I snipped. Then, dousing the silk runner with gas, I struck the match. Flames whooshed up, silent at first, then roaring as panic rippled through the aisle.
Emily spun.
Veil igniting in a halo of hellfire. Catherine, she shrieked, not in hate, but horror, as if I'd unmasked us both. Sprinklers erupted, drenching the dream in reality. Jake bolted. Phone out. Dialing 911. Guests scattered like roaches under kitchen light. I melted into the woods, truck rumbling to life on a dirt access road. Sirens wailed distant, but freedom tasted like soot. Back in Memphis by dawn, I checked my phone, news alerts exploding. Wedding inferno at Harlan Estate, arson suspected. Emily's Facebook, frozen mid-bliss. A voicemail from her, voice cracked. Why? Kathy? It was for us, for Mom's dream. The jewels. I was going to pay you back. Jake's the thief. Not me. Twist of the knife. In the chaos, she'd confessed to the cops about the jewels. Jake's side hustles. A hidden safe in their loft stuffed with more borrowed goods. Turns out, he'd been running a low-rent Ponzi on his daddy's contacts, using Emily as cover. My sabotage? It didn't just burn tents, it burned his alibi. Feds were en route.
Per the updates.
But the real gut twist? That pearl in my purse. As I held it to the light, flecked with char. I saw the inscription inside Grandma's ring band, visible only under magnification. To Catherine, my anchor. Emily had known. She'd sold everything but that, leaving me the core. Was it mercy? Or one last flip? Cops never came. No footage caught me. Drone crashed midair from a malfunction. Trish clammed up, loyal to no one. Emily? She called again that night. I get it now. You saved me. Silence stretched, heavy as Mississippi mud. But you broke us. Did I? The debate rages in my head. In the anonymous forums where folks dissect that Tennessee wedding blaze. Heroes or heathens? Some call me vigilante justice. A southern fried Lisbeth Salander torching the patriarchy one tent at a time. Others? A jealous hag. Ruining love for spite.
Me?
I pawned the pearl for $2,000, enough for a deposit on a cabin in the Smokies. Emily's divorcing Jake. Starting over in Atlanta, with a therapist and a grudge of her own. We haven't spoken since, but her last text lingers. Truce? Truce implies war's end. Mine's a cold peace. Ashes fertilizing new ground. Betrayal's a two-way street, lined with mirrors. And in America's heartland, where magnolias hide thorns, that's the real happily never after. The cabin smelled like pine sap and fresh starts, but it couldn't mask the echo of that voicemail looping in my skull like a bad country ballad on repeat. You saved me. Emily's words hung there, equal parts absolution and accusation. As I unpacked the duffel I'd thrown together in the pre-dawn haze, jeans stiff with gas fumes, a hoodie from the divorce era, and that damn pearl necklace. Rest-strung on fishing line because who has time for proper clasps when your life's a dumpster fire? The Smokies loomed outside my window, mist-shrouded peaks that swallowed secrets whole, much like the Harlan estate had tried to swallow mine. But secrets have a way of bubbling up, especially when you've got a sister who's half vampire. Thriving on the drama, you both bleed. I should have known peace was a pipe dream. 2 days in, and the call started not from Emily, but from Mom's old bridge club ladies, the busybodies of Germantown who'd turned my arson into afternoon gossip fodder. Catherine Hayes? Lord. Girl. Is it true you set that wedding ablaze 'cause your sister's groom was too timid? Mrs. Hargrove's voice crackled through the landline I'd installed for emergencies, her drawl thick as sorghum syrup. I always said Emily had stars in her eyes. But stealin' family jewels? That's low as a snake's belly. I hung up without a word. But the damage was done. My freelance inbox overflowed with concerned inquiries, clients ghosting, others probing like I was Exhibit A in a true crime pod. One. A Nashville boutique owner who'd commissioned my logos for years. Emailed. Heard about the family drama. Need to pause our collab. Optics. You know. Optics. In a city where country stars snort lines off Grammys and politicians bed lobbyists, my revenge was the bridge too far. Rage simmered anew, but this time laced with something uglier. Regret. That southern staple served with a side of sweet tea and denial. I'd driven 12 hours north from Franklin, windows down to air out the betrayal stench. Radio flipping between NPR exposés on white-collar crime and Reba McEntire crooning about fancy chains being fancy chains all the same. By the time I crossed into North Carolina, the headlines had evolved. Arson at elite wedding, inside the Harlan family's dark secrets. Jake's mugshot splashed everywhere, slick hair askew. That salesman's smile curdled into a scowl. Feds had raided the loft, uncovering ledgers of loans, to marks from Chattanooga to Clarksville. My jewels just the tip of his iceberg. Emily, bless her chameleon heart, had lawyered up quick. Her statement to the press? A masterpiece of victimhood. My wedding day was meant to be joy. But betrayal from my fiancé and even family turned it to ashes.
I'm healing.
Focusing on forgiveness. Forgiveness. The word stuck in my craw like a fishbone. She hadn't mentioned the theft. Not explicitly. But the subtext screamed, Kathy's the loose cannon.
Not me.
I fired on my laptop that night, VPN routed through some server in Boise, and dove into the digital detritus.
Forum best trop krimsaus.
A subreddit I'd lurked since Mom's passing. Dissected the Memphis Maids of Honor massacre. Their words, not mine. Threads split like kudzu vines. Team Catherine, she did what any of us would, protect family from grifters. Versus Team Emily, incestuous jealousy. Sis ruined a innocent woman's big day for $15K? Trash. One user.
U cosa fizzata hiscage.
Dropped a bomb. Heard from a vendor the bride knew about the affair months ago. Used the jewels to fund an escape fund. Not the wedding. Big sis jumped the gun. Escape fund? My pulse thrummed like a bass drum at a Vols tailgate. Was that the flip I'd missed? Emily. Plotting her own exit from Jake's web. Pawning heirlooms not for champagne flutes, but for a Greyhound ticket out? The thought hollowed me. Turning triumph to tar. I'd torched her lifeline. Not her luxury. Sleep evaded me. Chased by nightmares of Mom's hospice room. Beeps and morphine drips. Her frail hand in mine as she whispered. Watch over M.
Kathy.
She's the dreamer. You're the doer. Doer. I'd done too much. Maybe. Dawn broke gray and drizzly. The kind of rain that soaks your soul. And I bundled up for a hike along the Appalachia Trail's edge. Trail mix in pocket. Bear spray on hip. Practical Catherine. Always prepared. The woods cleared my head. Or tried to. Ferns whispered conspiracies. Birds mocked with carefree trills. Halfway up Klingman's dome, my phone pinged, service spotty. But insistent.
Jake.
How the hell?
We need to talk.
Coffee in Gatlinburg? Your move started this domino. Haze.
Domino.
As if I were the first piece to topple. Curiosity. That cat-killing bastard. 1. I met him at a Cracker Barrel off the Parkway. The one with the old-timey storefront and waitresses calling you Han. He looked smaller without the Brooks Brothers armor, stubble shadowing that jawline. Eyes darting like a con spotting heat. Catherine, he drawled, sliding into the booth with a styrofoam cup of Diner Joe. You're a hard woman to track. Flattery won't fix felonies.
Helen.
I stirred creamer into black, watching it swirl like guilt in a drain. He leaned in, voice low. Emily lied to you. The jewels? Her idea. Yeah, but for us to flip. She wanted out. Planned to sell em clean. Start fresh in Charleston. You burned that bridge. Literally. Charleston. Salt air and rainbow row houses. A world away from Nashville's honky-donkays. My mind reeled. Piecing the puzzle, her late nights, venue hunting, the anonymous wire transfers to a South Carolina account. She'd been scheming. All right, against him. Not with him. And I'd painted her the villain, doused her dreams in diesel. Why tell me now? I pressed. Fork spearing a dummy hard-boiled egg like it owed me answers. Jake's laugh was bitter as chicory. Plea deal. Feds want names. Yours is clean, hers. Not so much. She flipped on me first.
Kathy.
Said you put her up to the theft. Blood's thicker. Right? Flipped. Again. Emily, master of the pivot, tossing me under the bus to save her skin. The diner spun, checkered floors tilting like a drunkard's waltz. Bullshit, I hissed. But Doubt gnawed, her texts post-fire, evasive, laced with that old manipulation. Healing with forgiveness? Code for cut a deal and ghost. I bolted, leaving him with the check and a glare that could have curdled milk. Back at the cabin, I tore through voicemails. Emily. 3 new ones. Voice escalating from plea to fury. Kathy. Jake's lying. He's the one who forged the bank docs. I was protecting you, keeping it quiet till after the wedding. Now the feds think we're in on it.
We.
As if we'd ever been a team. The pearl necklace spilled from my bag, clattering across the pine floor like accusatory hail. I scooped it up, fingers tracing the luster, Grandma's anchor. Now adrift. That's when the knock came, 2 suits from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Badges glinting under the porch light like false halos. MS. Hayes, we need to ask about the Franklin incident. The lead. A woman with a bun tight as her bunched jaw. Eyed me like yesterday's cornbread. Witness saw a woman matching your description near the treeline. And your sister's pointing fingers. Pointing fingers. The world narrowed to that. Emily. My shadow. My spark. Turning the spotlight to scorch me. I invited them in. Coffee brewing as cover. Mind racing circuits faster than a stock car at Bristol.
Deny?
Confess? Or flip the script myself. By the time they left, empty-handed, promises of follow-ups, I'd lawyered up via a quick call to a Knoxville firm. Retainer wired from the Pearl Pawn. But the real war? It waged internal. A civil skirmish between loyalty and self-preservation. Emily texted then. They're coming for us both. Meet in Knoxville? Neutral ground. Neutral. Like there was such a thing in our blood feud. I packed the truck. Windows fogged with resolve. Knoxville waited. Half smoky hideout. Half Falls madhouse. Where secrets spilled easier than beer at a nail-in tailgate. But as I gunned the engine down winding blacktop, one truth crystallized. Revenge isn't a solo act. It's a duet. Harmonious in hate.
Discordant in dawn.
The interstate hummed under my tires. Billboards for Dollywood and moonshine distilleries blurring into a neon smear. Knoxville's lights beckoned like a siren's call, UT orange streaking the skyline, promising anonymity in the college crowd. Emily had picked a dive bar off Cumberland Avenue. The lamppost, neon sign flickering, live music and cold beer, the kind of joint where exes hash out alimony over PBR and pickled eggs. I spotted her in a corner booth, hoodie up, nursing a whiskey neat like it was holy water. She looked wrecked, roots showing in that blonde dye job. Eyes puffy from more than allergies. Kathy.
No hook.
Just that one word, heavy as a headstone. I slid in opposite, ordering a Bud Light to match the vibe. Feds paid a visit. You're doing? Her flinch was answer enough. Partial. I had to give him something. Jake's ledger mentioned the box key. Thought it'd point to him. She traced the condensation on her glass, avoiding my gaze. But they twisted it. Now it's conspiracy to defraud.
Us. Kathy.
Together. Together. The lie we'd lived since pigtails and playground scrapes. You sold Grandma's shit for an escape fund? I kept my voice low, but venom seeped through. And framed me for the lift? Jake pushed it, her whisper cracked, drawing glances from a nearby sorority table. He said it'd be quick, pawn, flip, vanish to the islands. I believed him. For us, to start over without his daddy's shadow.
Tears welled.
But I was fresh out of sympathy Kleenex. Us? Or just you?
Ain't.
I took the fall for your car wreck. Your overdoses. Your endless fresh starts. 15K, that's my anchor.
Gone.
She reached across, hand hovering like a truce flag. I left the pearl. Knew you'd find it. That's me saying.
I'm sorry.
Really?
Sorry.
The word dangled, insufficient as a band-aid on a bullet wound. The band kicked up, some cover of Wagon Wheel, ironic as hell, and the bar filled with co-ed swaying, oblivious to our apocalypse. I wanted to believe her, to mend the tear with sisterly thread. But Jake's words echoed. She flipped on me first. Prove it, I said finally. Give me the ledger copies. Full story to the feds, your part.
His. No omissions.
Her nod was slow, resigned.
Deal.
But you gotta back me. Tell Em the fire was self-defense.
Panic.
Not arson. Self-defense against what? A wedding? The gray blurred further. Decisions stacking like Jenga blocks on the edge. I agreed. Because blood's a stubborn stain. We hugged then. Awkward. Bone crush. Smelling of regret and cheap perfume. But as I drove back to the cabin that night, rain sheeting the windshield, doubt gnawed deeper. A burner phone buzzed in the console. Jake. She's playing you. Check her email. Escape planned docs. It's all there. I pulled over at a Waffle House. Fluorescents buzzing like angry wasps. The lot was empty save for truckers nursing hash browns. So I logged in. Old password. Still sisters forever. There it was, a file. Dated months back. Emily's notes. Meticulous as a wedding binder. Sell jewels, Kathy's. Blame Jake if caught. Wire to offshore.
Post-wedding.
Ghost Nashville. Bonus. Leak Jake's affairs to Harlan's. Divorce settlement incoming.
Bonus.
Not escape, extortion. She'd planned to burn him financially. Then bolt with the spoils.
Me.
Collateral. The trusting fool holding the bag. The Waffle House coffee went cold in my grip. Emily hadn't flipped once. She'd been somersaulting the whole time. My fire? It hadn't ruined her celebrations. It had lit the fuse on her real scheme. One she'd pinned on me to dodge the blast. Rage reignited. Hotter than the tent flames. But this time,
No gasoline.
just truth. Raw and American as apple pie a la mode with a cyanide cherry. I forwarded the file to the Fed's tip line. Anonymous as midnight. Then, to Emily. Game over.
Cease.
Your move. Her reply came swift. Kathy? What file? Wait. I silenced the phone. Windows down to let the storm wash clean. The Smokies swallowed the road ahead, forgiving nothing. Revenge's end? Not ashes, but echoes, debates in dive bars. Headlines fading to footnotes. And me, Catherine Hayes, anchor adrift, sailing toward whatever gray horizon dawn breaks. Dawn broke over the Smokies like a reluctant confession. Pink streaks bleeding into the gray, mirroring the bruise on my conscience. The cabin felt smaller that morning. Walls closing in with the weight of Emily's escape plan, docs still open on my laptop screen, her betrayal digitized. Time-stamped. Undeniable. I brewed coffee strong enough to strip varnish, black as the hole where trust used to sit, and stepped onto the porch. Fog clung to the valleys like a lover unwilling to let go. And somewhere below, a hawk screamed, a sound too raw for poetry, too fitting for my unraveling. The feds moved fast. By noon, my burner pinged with a news alert. Nashville groom's empire crumbles. Bride's sister key to bust. No names yet, protocol. Or mercy, but the details screamed Emily. Anonymous tip leads to digital trail of fraud, including pawned family heirlooms intended for offshore laundering. Comments sections ignited. From r/Tennessee to local Facebook groups, karma's a bonfire versus poor girl was trapped, abuser Jake all the way. Polarized. As promised. Like a Trump rally crashing a BLM march. No one's hands clean. Everyone's got a pitchfork. I should have felt vindicated. That sweet southern schadenfreude of watching the mighty mule kicked. But victory tasted like stale cornbread, dry,
Crumbling.
Emily's last text looped in my notifications. What file?
Kathy. Talk to me.
Please. Caps lock panic. The digital equivalent of her teenage sobs after dad's casket closed. I ghosted it. Deleted the thread. But ghosts don't delete easy. They haunt, whispering what-ifs in the wind through the pines. Work called, a freelance gig I'd snagged pre-fire. Designing labels for a Gatlinburg moonshine brand. Firewater Fury, they called it. Ironic tagline. Burns going down. Lingers forever. I hammered out proofs on my tablet. Fonts sharp as switchblades. But focus frayed. Every curve of the F evoked flames. The drop shadow on Fury mimicked char. By dusk.
Idea mailad revisions.
Billed half up front, enough to cover another month's rent on this hideout. Practicality, my last tether to normalcy. That's when the knock came. Not feds this time, but a delivery. UPS brown truck rumbling up the gravel drive like an uninvited uncle at Thanksgiving. A box. No return address. Addressed to C. Haze from a fan. Inside, the sapphire brooch. Repolished to gleaming. Wrapped in tissue stamped with a Nashville pawnshop logo. And a note. Emily's looping script. Found this in Jake's safe.
Yours.
Always was.
Eh.
The brooch caught the lamplight. Sapphires winking like crocodile tears.
Found?
Or returned. A peace offering in the 11th hour? I pinned it to my hoodie. Absurd armor. And paced the creaky floors. Mom's voice echoed. Faint as radio static. Sisters ain't perfect.
Kathy.
They're pieces of you, flaws and all. Flaws. Emily's were fissures now. Cracking the foundation we'd built on shared grief and gumbo Sundays. Night fell heavy. Crickets chorusing a dirge. I drove into Gatlinburg. Neon jungle of tourist traps and fudge shops. Seeking anonymity in the crowds. The parkway thrummed with RVs and Harleys. Families snapping selfies at the Salt and Pepper Shaker Museum. Mundane miracles amid my mess. I parked near Ripley's Believe It or Not. Wandered aisles of oddities. Shrunken heads. Two-headed calves in jars. Fitting metaphors, our family. Pickled in formaldehyde lies. A text from an unknown number buzzed. Jake's lawyer. Client wishes to meet. Compensation offered for testimony clarification. $50,000 wired upon agreement.
Bribe.
Plain as moonshine. I laughed. A bark that turned heads in the gift shop. $50,000, more than the jewels. Less than my soul. Deleted.
Blocked.
But the offer lingered. Temptations whisper. Buy your way clean. Catherine. Let the dominoes fall without you. Back at the cabin. Sleep dodged me again. I fired up the laptop. Scoured public records. Jake's arraignment set for Monday in Nashville federal court. Emily listed as cooperating witness.
Cooperating.
Flipping. Eternally. A deeper dive into her emails hacked via that old shared iCloud. Password unchanged. Revealed more. Frantic messages to a divorce attorney in Atlanta. Dated pre-fire. Prenup ironclad. But fraud voids it. Planning exit. Need leverage. Leverage. The affairs. The ledgers. My jewels as the hammer. Twist upon twist. She hadn't just stolen. She'd strategized. A chess master in a world of checkers. And me, the pawn she'd sacrificed for checkmate. Rage flickered, but exhaustion doused it. I curled on the couch, brooch digging into my chest like a badge of bad decisions. Dreams came fractured, wedding tents blooming like funeral pyres. Emily's veil morphing into Mom's hospital gown. Jake's face melting into Dad's. All chanting, "Anchor, anchor, sink or swim." Morning brought clarity, sharp as mountain air. I called the Knoxville firm, my lawyers. Retainers be damned. File for restraining order. Against Emily. Harassment. Threats. The associate paused. Voice neutral. Evidence. I forwarded the texts. The file. The note. Plenty. And prep a civil suit conversion.
Theft. 15 cas plus damage.
Suing my sister. The words tasted like treason, but necessity's bitter. Blood's thicker than water. Sure, but thinner than ink on a contract. By afternoon, papers drafted. Served via courier to her Atlanta hideout, a cheap motel off 285, per the PI's update. Her response? A voicemail. Voice shattered. Kathy. A lawsuit? After everything? I returned the brooch. Jake's the monster. I was trapped.
Trapped.
Her favorite refrain. From shoplifting sprees to sobriety stumbles. I didn't call back. Instead, I hiked to a overlook, Gatlinburg sprawling below, like a glittering scar. Tourists milled. Oblivious, families forging bonds I'd frayed. A couple argued nearby, his voice rising. You always play the victim, hers. Tear-choked, because I am. Echoes of us. Refracted through strangers. That's when the real twist hit, not from files or feds, but flesh. My phone rang, Mom's number.
Impossible.
Heart hammering. I answered. Kathy, it's Em. Using her phone, borrowed from a friend. Listen, please. Borrowed. Always borrowed. What now? Another flip? Silence. Then a sob that rattled the line.
No. Truth. Jake. He knew about the plan.
The escape. He hacked my laptop. Found the file. Used it to blackmail me. Go through with the wedding. Or I tell the Harlans everything. Including your thefts. I pawn the jewels to buy time. To get proof on him. The fire? It forced his hand. He confessed to the cops. Threw me under to save himself. My knees buckled against a boulder. World tilting. And the lawsuit? You're doing? Or his? Her voice cracked. Kathy, we're both pawns. Meet me halfway. Asheville? Neutral. Like Knoxville. Asheville. Artsy enclave. Breweries and buskers. A buffer of blue mountains between our red clay wars. I agreed. Against every screaming instinct. Tomorrow. Biltmore Village. Noon. Hanging up. The brooch warmed against my skin. Not comfort.
But warning.
Trust her? Or torch the bridge for good. The hawk circled overhead. Indifferent. In America's fractured heart, choices aren't black and white, they're sepia, stained with history's ink. The drive to Asheville wound through switchbacks that mimicked my gut, radio static spitting weather warnings, thunderstorms rolling in from the west, lightning forking like fractured veins. Biltmore Village buzzed with tourists, horse-drawn carriages clopping past boutiques hawking lavender soaps and artisanal cheeses, the air thick with fried dough and faux French charm. I parked the Ford among Beamers and Subarus, feeling like an interloper in my own life, jeans frayed, brooch pinned like a Scarlet Letter remix. Emily waited on a bench by the conservatory, bundled in a thrift store coat that swallowed her frame. She looked smaller, stripped of the bridal glow, hair mousy brown, no makeup masking the hollows under her eyes. Kathy. She stood, arms open, but I waved her off. Boundaries. The therapist I'd finally booked online preached. Baby steps. We walked the gardens, fall leaves crunching underfoot like brittle apologies. Jake's singing, she started, voice low amid the rhododendron whispers. Full confession, says I masterminded the fraud, used you as cover. The feds bought it.
Partially.
Bail hearings tomorrow. He's out on bond. Spinning tales to his daddy's lawyers. Spinning. I snorted, kicking a pebble into a koi pond.
Fish scattered.
Ripples distorting their scales. Like you spun the jewels into an escape fund. She stopped, hand on a wrought iron gate. Half true. I did plan to run, but with you. After Mom, I saw you drowning bills. That ex's ghost. Thought. Sell the shiny stuff. Split the cash. Buy us a place in the Keys. No more fixing my messes. A clean slate.
The Keys.
Conch shells and sun-bleached decks. A fantasy we'd spun as kids over Mom's Jell-O salads. Then why the lies? The framing. Fear. Her eyes met mine, raw as peeled onions. Jake found out, threatened to expose my old DUIs. The pills. Said he'd pin it all on us sisters. Make it family dysfunction. The wedding was his leash. The fire snapped it. He flipped to save his ass. Painted me the villain.
You.
Collateral. Collateral. Again. The word echoed Jake's coffee shop spiel. A Mobius strip of manipulation. And the brooch. A small smile. Ghost of our girlhood grins. Couldn't sell that. It's Mom's favorite, said it brought out your warrior eyes. Kept it hidden. For when I could give it back. Proof I'm not all monster. Not all. The gray deepened, polarizing my pulse. Believe, and risk another burn, disbelieve, and bury the bond forever. Lightning cracked distant, rain spitting warnings. We ducked into a cafe, ordering lattes amid the clink of china and chatter of retirees. So, truce, she ventured, foam mustache absurd on her lip. Terms. I leaned in, voice steel. Full deposition, your story.
Mine.
No more flips. And the suit drops if you testify against him. Clean. She nodded.
Fierce. Deal.
But you gotta forgive.
Kathy.
Not for me, for you. Mom's ghost is tired of grudges. Forgiveness. The hook I'd swallowed whole. As thunder rolled, sealing our pact with elemental fury, I glimpsed the twist's tail. Jake, watching from a rental car across the square, phone to ear. Had he followed, tipped the feds, or just another layer? His scheme to divide and conquer? Rain lashed the windows, blurring the world. Sisters reunited. But shadows lingered. In this tense tango, no one's wholly right. Emily's dreamer heart cracked by survival. My anchor rusted by rage. The storm passed. But the debate? Eternal. Like southern summers. The Asheville rain tapered to a drizzle as Emily and I emerged from the cafe. Lattes cooling in paper cups. Our fragile truce steaming like breath on glass. Biltmore's spires loomed against the clearing sky. A Gothic reminder that empires built on lies crumble spectacular, much like the Harlan dynasty teetering on Jake's bail bond. We hugged then, tentative as first steps on thin ice. Her coat damp against my hoodie, the brooch pressing between us like a shared heartbeat. Knoxville Depot in 3 days, I murmured. Don't ghost. Won't. Her squeeze tightened, then released. She vanished into the crowd, a brunette wraith among the tartan tourists, leaving me with the bill and a belly full of butterflies laced with bourboned out. Driving back, the parkway unspooled like a therapy tape, curves forcing reflection, vistas demanding surrender. Jake's rental had idled across the square. I'd clocked the Tennessee plates, the glint of binoculars in his grip. Stalker or strategist. Didn't matter, my lawyers had his number. Literally. Subpoena pending. But as radio waves caught a Nashville station spilling trial teasers, insider says the bride's kin holds the smoking gun. Paranoia prickled. What if he'd bugged her phone? What if our truce was his trap? Pitting sisters against the stand? Cabin lights welcomed me. A solitary beacon in the twilight. I bolted the door. Checked windows. Paranoid Catherine. Fortress building since the divorce. Dinner was ramen from a care package of my own making, spiked with sriracha for heat against the chill. Then, the grind, emails to clients. Spinning my sabbatical as creative recharge, not fugitive fever. A new gig bit, a Chattanooga winery needing vintage labels. Evoking bootleg grit meets genteel grace.
Fitting.
Sleep came fitful. Dreams a montage of courtrooms and campfires. Emily perjuring in seafoam silk. Flames forking from her tongue. Jake in orange. Grinning like the Grinch who'd stolen Christmas heirlooms. Woke sweat-soaked at 3 a.m. Brooch tangled in sheets.
Stumbled to the laptop.
Hacking caffeine with decaf. Can't risk jitters for the depot. Morning mail brought the twist's full reveal, a manila envelope.
No postmark.
Slipped under the door, like contraband. Inside. Photos grainy but damning. Emily and Jake. Motel off I-40. Time-stamped post-fire. Her hand slipping cash to him. His arm around her waist. Backed by a note. Typed sterile. She's playing both sides. Still. A friend. A friend. Jake's ghostwriter. Or a Fed's feint. My stomach knotted tighter than a square knot in scout camp. I forwarded to lawyers. Exhibit A for depot. But the poison seeped. Trust. That fragile filigree. Fracturing anew. Emily's truce a Trojan horse? Or Jake's last gambit? Divide and conquer from his Belle Meade bail house? The depot loomed. Knoxville courthouse a neutral ground of marble halls and metal detectors. I drove down at dawn. Ford groaning upgrades like my resolve. Traffic clogged I-81. Semis honking hymns to haste. But I arrived early, black dress from Mom's closet. Brooch pinned like a talisman. Hair twisted into a no-nonsense chignon. Emily waited in the lobby. Alone. Looking like she'd aged a decade in days. Pantsuit ill-fitting. Eyes shadowed by solicitor stress. Kathy.
No smile.
Just relief. We air-kissed. Awkward as debutantes at cotillion. Ready to bury him? ready to bury lies. I held her gaze, searching for the flip, the telltale twitch. Nothing but fatigue. The room was antiseptic. Oak table. Court reporter's stenotype, clicking like impatient castanets. 2 feds in off-rack suits. My lawyer, a bulldog from Knoxville named Rita, steel gray bob. Voice like gravel in a blender. Emily's counsel, a wet behind-the-ears associate from Atlanta, fidgeted with his Mont Blanc. Under oath. Truths tumbled. Emily first. Jake orchestrated the fraud. Loans to cronies. My jewels as collateral he borrowed, without asking. I planned to expose him post-wedding. But fear froze me. Her voice steadied. Eyes on me. Catherine found out. Confronted indirectly. The fire.
Panic.
Self-preservation. The feds leaned in. One scribbling furiously. MS. Hayes, Catherine, your role. I swallowed. Brooch heavy. I discovered the theft via emails. Confronted Emily privately. As for the fire.
Pause.
Rita's nod cueing. It was an accident. Faulty wiring on the fireworks. Exacerbated by the gas leak from the caterer's grill. I was there. Yes, trying to stop her from going through with it. To pull her out. Lies. Layered like lasagna. Emily's glance flickered gratitude, guilt. The reporter's keys danced. Immortalizing our fiction. Then. The bomb. The lead fed. A grizzled type named Harlan. Irony's middle name. Slid photos across the table. My photos, the motel handoff. Care to explain? MS. Hayes. Post-incident collusion. Emily blanched. Hand to mouth.
That's
not what it looks like. I was paying him back, closing the loop before bailing. Or fencing more? Harlan pressed. Voice flat as Tennessee limestone. Chaos erupted. Lawyers objecting.
Rito demanding recesses.
Emily's eyes met mine across the table. Terror.
Pure.
Kathy. Believe me. Did I? The gray swirled. Climax cresting. Flip or fold. I stood. Voice cutting the din. Those photos? Jake's setup. He tailed us. Staged it to discredit. Check the timestamps, aligns with his bail release. He's the snake. Biting his own tail. The room froze. Then thawed into murmurs. Harlan nodded to his partner. Run it. Emily's hand found mine under the table. Squeeze electric.
Truth.
Or tandem treachery. Depot adjourned. Pendings and subpoenas flying like confetti at a funeral. Outside. Knoxville's sun slanted golden. Vol's banners flapping in breeze. You saved me. Again. Emily's whisper. Eyes wet. Don't make me regret it. But as we parted, her to Atlanta, me to Smokies, I felt the shift. Not victory, but verdict pending. Weeks blurred. Jake's trial. A circus in Nashville's federal trap.
Testimony flow, mine.
Remote via video. Brooch glinting under studio lights. Emily took the stand. Unflinching. He manipulated us both, sisters against each other. Jury aided. Deliberating 2 days before guilty on all counts. Fraud. Embezzlement. The works. Sentenced to 12.
No parole wiggle.
Emily walked free, cooperating witness. Reduced charges to misdemeanor accessory. She called that night. Voice buoyant. It's over.
Kathy.
Clean.
Clean.
As a whistle in a windstorm. The suit dropped. Mutual. We split the recovered jewel value. $7,000 each. Half what was lost but whole in ways that mattered. She moved to Charleston for Real. Graphic design gig at a boutique firm. Therapy twice weekly. Come visit? Key's dreams on hold. But low country's calling. I demurred. Cabin life suiting my solitude. Freelance boomed. Firewater labels a hit. Spawning ashes to ambition merch. But the twist lingered. Debate fodder in my mirror. Was the fire justice or jihad? Emily's trapped, a truth or trope.
Forum fizzled?
But friends probed. Heroic. Or just hot-headed. Ending? No tidy bow. Last fall, I visited Charleston's Battery.
Palmetto shade.
Her new place a shotgun rental with porch swings and peace. We grilled shrimp. Laughed at old photos. Brooch shared on a chain between us. To anchors, she toasted. Glasses clinking. To dreamers. Mine clinked back. Happy? Close enough. Tragic? Only if you squint. In America's tense tapestry, betrayal's bold, redemption's ragged, we sisters mended. Frayed but forward. The ruins? Fertilizer for whatever blooms next. And that's the real revenge, rising from ashes. Unchained.